The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
Reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark.
Glory to you, Lord.
Then they came to Capernaum, and on the Sabbath Jesus entered the synagogue and taught. The people were astonished at his teaching, for he taught them as one having authority, not as the scribes. In their synagogue was a man with an unclean spirit. He cried out, "What have you to do with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the Holy One of God." Jesus rebuked him and said, "Quiet, come out of him." The unclean spirit convulsed him, and with a loud cry came out of him. All were amazed and asked one another, "What is this?" A new teaching with authority. He commands even the unclean spirits, and they obey him. His fame spread everywhere throughout the whole region of Galilee. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Who is the boss? And no, I'm not talking about that great show from the 80s starring Alyssa Milano. I might have watched a few episodes. Who is the director, the leader of our lives? Satan or Jesus Christ? The world or the church? Sin or grace? We ourselves or our God? What do we think? And we want to say Jesus, the church, grace, and God. But we know that there are times when Satan or the world, sin, or we are the ones who govern our lives. In his spiritual exercises, St. Ignatius tries to explain what happens to us, this battle that can go on between goodness and badness, darkness and light. And he calls this meditation the two standards. And you got to remember, St. Ignatius thinks in kind of medieval terms. So a standard is like a banner. So you can think here at Strake Jesuit Houston like our shield, our Crusader shield. But what flag do we fly? And he explains that the first flag or standard is that of Satan, and that Satan tempts people with riches so that they can attain honors and vainglory. And with many honors, their pride will grow. And when they are full of pride, then Satan has them and can lead them to all the other sins. In this way, Satan uses riches, honors, and pride to gain control over our lives. And the second standard that St. Ignatius presents is that of Jesus Christ. And he begins by explaining that Jesus calls people to spiritual poverty and to eventual physical poverty. And then Jesus directs people to desire to accept insults and contempt. And in order to endure these, they need humility. And so we see that Jesus uses poverty and insults and humility to have a certain authority in the lives of his people. And so therefore, St. Ignatius suggests to us that people ask for the grace of poverty. Because when we have this grace, we do not need many things. And without many things, we will not have to think about the world as much. And in this way, the world cannot have control over us. And St. Paul reiterates this in today's second reading. He explains that when we have many things of the world in our lives, we have many concerns. And with these concerns, sometimes it can be difficult to think about God and to make Jesus the center of our life. Rather, we live in anxiety about how we and we alone will solve all of our concerns and problems. And when we start to think inward, like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to overcome this? We start to turn inward, and suddenly what happens? We are the center of our lives. We are in control of our lives. We are the boss of our lives. And so we decide what is best for us. So we work to get the best. And when we have the best, we think we are the best. And when we have this honor, we can start to think that we are better than others. And with this mentality, it's easy to fall into pride, to begin judging others and decide what actions others, like our family members and our friends, our church, and even God, are bad or wrong because they don't agree with what I think. We can begin to think that we are always right and everyone else is always wrong. Unfortunately, have we been there or been close to there? But thank God that we have Jesus. And we hear today that Jesus has the power to cast out demons because he has real authority. And therefore, Jesus can expel the demon of pride from our life. But in order for this to happen, we have to give the authority of our lives over to Jesus. And this requires us to humble ourselves and to admit that Jesus knows better than we do, that Jesus knows what is best for us. And getting there, giving Jesus this control, allowing this to happen can be difficult. But with God's grace, all is possible. And so, my brothers and sisters, when we make Jesus the leader, the director of our lives, he can guide us to the truth that we do not need many things that we often think we need to be happy. That ultimately we can get to that place from St. Ignatius' principle and foundation that all we need is the love and grace of Jesus Christ. And with this love and peace, we can endure the insults and contempt, the judgment of others. And often enough, because we follow Jesus Christ, and because we're members of the Catholic Church, many times we're going to receive insults or possibly be held in contempt. Can't help but think about that this weekend, tomorrow would be, our Crusaders for Life would be in D.C. marching for life. And we know how the church's view on this important topic is seen or judged by certain people in the world. And often enough, sometimes too, when we become the center, much like this issue, people can look at the church and think that her commandments are wrong, that she does not have authority to decide what people can do and can't do. But when we let Jesus be the center, he can help us understand that the church receives its authority from him, that the church receives its authority from Jesus Christ. And because Jesus knows what's best for us, we can come to understand that the church knows what's best for us. And because people can have a hard time and difficulty understanding the goodness of the church and the teachings of the church, people can have a hard time understanding and trusting that they should put their faith in Jesus. We, my brothers and sisters, have to share our experience of Jesus Christ and the church. Share our experience of living under the banner of Jesus Christ, the standard of Jesus Christ. And the way that we start by doing this is making Jesus the center, making Jesus the leader of our lives.